Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to our lease option live stream Wednesday nights. Every Wednesday, we come to you on this platform that you're watching us on, which may be several platforms actually. So, thank you for watching us wherever you are watching us. We are all about helping you get to that first deal, or maybe it's that next deal. And so tonight I've got a special treat for you. You've already seen, but that's okay. This special treat is a gentleman, a guest that really we're going to dive into a topic that I'm hungry personally to know more about. I think maybe I've had some brushes with it, but not. I really could take this farther, and so I've invited, and he's graciously accepted, and is volunteering his time for us tonight. So first of all, the live chat is open, and Rich Wonders, or the Novation King, is here tonight for live chat. So I want you to feel free to put your questions about Novations because he is the Novation King. You might know him more by that he is the Novation King than maybe even his name. He is a nationwide wholesaler who is a leading industry expert on novations, but not just that, sales and negotiation. His unique sales process and exit strategy allows for wholesale deals to be listed on the MLS and sold to retail and investor buyers. Rich has trained the teams of many top wholesalers around the country and leads the Rainmaker Acquisitions Novations course and community. Very excited. Welcome tonight, Rich Wonders, Novation King. Thanks for being with us tonight. Are you there, Rich? Is he there? He was there. All right. It looks like he's there. He's not there. Let's try to add. He's going to need to log back in. He said he sent me a private message. He's having some technical difficulties. That's okay. Welcome tonight. We'll kill a couple minutes while he's getting logged back in. Welcome. Why don't you go ahead and say hello to me in the chat? We have a few people that have already logged in and are watching us here on a live stream. Welcome back, Rich. I'm glad you're here, man. Yes. I want to get into the topic of novations.
Can you hear me too? Okay, good. I just want to make
sure. Yeah, I can hear you pretty good, I think. Okay. I think so.
Yeah.
Hey, people in the chat, say hello to us. Say hi to Rich and myself. I'm glad you're watching tonight. We're going to get right into the topic of novation because we've got the Novation King here. So I really do want to find out more about the whole exit strategy of listing it on the MLS and selling it to retail or investor buyers. That's a big deal, y'all. Okay, to have not only the MLS but the ability to sell to both retail or investor buyers. A lot of us are one or the other. So this is a big deal. But also there are things about novations that I want to understand. Welcome, Rich. Tell us a little bit more about yourself, if there's more that you'd like to share about you, other than what I shared in the introduction there, sir.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're here. Thanks for being here, man.
Thank you, Justin. Yeah, I appreciate the invite. So I'm in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm a nationwide wholesaler, family guy. I've got 4 kids and a wife. I started my journey in wholesale working for Sean Terry for my first 2 years. So he's kind of one of the OGs that taught a lot of people. I picked up Novations working with a guy named Corey Geary, and I've always had a strong sales background. I've been in sales like pretty much my whole working life. So kind of what I brought to the table was a unique way to pitch Novations, and just from doing so many, and leading the community, I've got a really unique perspective because these deals have a lot more moving parts than like a traditional wholesale deal. And I've learned a lot of things along the way, both through my own mistakes and successes and through my 300 plus community members too. So.
Wow. Yeah, that's great. Hey, I just wanted to tell you, your mic is breaking up just a little bit there.
Okay.
If you've got another.
I'm on my router here. Give me one second. I got you right now.
Okay. It's no problem. It's probably okay out there in the world, but I'm not sure. I just want to make sure everybody's hearing you okay, because I want to get right into some deeper thoughts about novations. Like, for example, just give us, just right off the bat, just give us an example. Can you give us an example of a successful real estate deal where you used a novation agreement, and detail some of the specific benefits, and the outcome compared to maybe a standard transaction that an old school classically trained real estate guy might do. Does that make sense,
Sure.
Rich?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So here's a good way to put it, right? Because I mean, we do almost all novations. I'm like probably 80% novation, 20% off market. Like I'll still sell properties off market if it's a cash as is only. I can sell it quickly and I can get my money quick, right? I might sacrifice a little bit of profit for the velocity of money, right? And turning it over quickly, right? Especially, some novations, they can be a pain sometimes. Like there's more red tape. You go through a couple of those, you're like, the wholesale doesn't sound too bad right now. Money in 20, 30 days, not a bad thing. But so a normal wholesale deal, normally you need a property that needs a lot of work and you need a seller that has problems, that's willing to sell it at a significant discount in order for the flipper to make money, the end buyer to make money, the wholesaler to make money, and everything to happen quickly, right? So out of all your leads, you'll have some that fit into that box, and especially if you're specifically marketing for distress, you'll find that. But you'll find there's a lot of leads where the seller's motivated, they have problems, but maybe the house isn't in the complete rehab phase. They're willing to take a discount, but it's not enough to sell it to someone that's planning on putting all the work into the house and then reselling it for a profit. But it's perfect for someone that's planning on living there, right? Because people don't all just buy fully remodeled houses, right? There's first-time home buyers. There's different areas of the country where, maybe the standards are different, right? They're not expecting something out of the Home and Garden magazine. They're just looking for a nice house that's affordable for their family. Right? Maybe they're living in an apartment. Maybe they're living at their mother-in-law's house. Who knows, right? So there's just this spectrum of motivated sellers that are going unserved if you're just doing a wholesale model where they are looking for speed and convenience. They are willing to give up equity and they are willing to sell at a discount, but it's just not enough margin to sell to another investor. But it's
okay.
Perfect.
So are we talking about novations? In my experience of hearing about it, it's been addressed to me as like a solution for an ugly house that needs work, but the homeowner is maybe not as motivated, and you can do this by partnering with the homeowner and do a fix and flip with a seller partner, so to speak. That is not what you're describing. Is that correct?
Right. So people do that. And I actually have some people in my course that have done that in the past. And my homie Trevor, Invest with Trev, he does that nationwide and partners with wholesalers all around the country that don't want to put up the money or don't have the expertise to do that. So that's like twice as complicated as what I do. Yes,
okay.
People do that, but it's much more risky. It's much more time consuming. There may be bigger upsides on the right deals. That's not my bag though. I give the seller speed and convenience. I do minimal work. Normally, I spend less than $5,000.
Pretty houses.
Yeah. Pretty houses, like everything in between. You know what I mean? We do cash as is ones too, but a lot of these are move-in ready, and maybe I'll spend $500 to clean it, spend a couple grand to help the seller move, maybe paint it. Minor things like things that have a high ROI, like getting the grass cut. Right. It doesn't cost me very much, but it makes the house more appealing for a retail buyer. First impression, right?
Yeah.
So, we do minimal work. Almost all of them, we do little to no work. I avoid the ones that need a rehab in order to make a profit. Like those, I'll just send to my boy Trev because he's a glutton for punishment. Yeah. He's like a U.S. Marine. He's a lot tougher than me and a lot more equipped than me to do that type of project. I hate fix and flips. Like, it's not.
I do too, man. Wow. It's so nice to hear another investor say that. I kind of feel like the class misfit because I don't like fix and flips, and other people are like, well, that's part of the business, and I'm like, well, not for me, it's not.
That's your business, not mine.
Right. Exactly. So that's cool. So you're dealing with pretty houses here. I kind of interrupted the example that you were giving us, but you found a homeowner that's motivated. They're not fitting the ugly house situation. So what do the numbers kind of look like in a novation deal? A typical one that you would look to do on a pretty house.
Sure. So I won't go into any deal if I'm not expecting to make less than $30,000. So $30,000 is my
Wow.
minimal profit margin. Now,
I like that. That's where you start.
yeah.
Let's do it from reverse. Let's build it with the profits in mind. That's great.
So the equation, right? Because that's the next question people ask is like, well, how do you determine your max allowable offer? So since most of these we're selling to retail buyers, we don't have to factor in ARV, right? Because ARV is exclusive to someone that's going to flip it to its highest potential. So we do what's called as is retail. So that's what the most similar properties in the immediate area are selling for recently, right? So apples to apples as much as we can. So I try to find the price that I think it will sell for in 30 days or less based on the pending, sold, and active comps in the area, right? And then I minus 10% because we're paying realtor commissions, closing costs, and there's normally some miscellaneous expenses, either through concessions or helping the seller, where it normally adds up to about 10%. So it's 90% of as is retail minus 30K. Most of these deals land between 20 and 30,000. I would say a lot of them because normally it'll either be that in the 20 to 30,000 range, like, or there'll be ones that'll be home runs. Like I've got one in Hampton, Georgia. We're making over $100,000 on it. I have a piece of land in Flagstaff that we just sold in 2 days on the market. It's as is, and it was a cash buyer. We're making 90,000 on that. So like there are big spreads in there, but I would say the majority, probably like 5 to 6 out of 10 of the ones that I'm seeing are landing around in the $30,000 range. But
Mm,
my numbers are a little skewed too,
wow.
because all my leads are all JV leads people send me. So
Sure.
I'm not getting just like a mix. I mean, I am getting a mix, but it's not like someone that has one marketing channel where the leads
Right.
are somewhat homogenous, right? My leads are all over the place, all different sources, and people normally send deals. I don't get a lot of home run deals sent to me because normally they would just wholesale those. They give me the
Okay.
tough ones, where in the best case
Yeah.
scenario, we're making 30 grand. So
I see. So you're not doing this based on a percentage, like you're not just saying, oh well, every deal I make 10% or I shoot for blah blah. Yeah. So you're just basically picking a number that fits your profit goal, right? Is that
for
right?
my minimum profit. Now, I
Okay.
always swing for the fences. I always try to make more, right? But normally to get them to where I'm making 30
Yeah.
grand, I'm still having to negotiate down a whole bunch because normally they want retail. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I'm assuming that this means that the higher the price, the better for Rich.
Oh
Is that
yeah.
right?
There's way more margin and it goes unnoticed.
Yeah, you'd rather do $1.5 million property than $150,000 property any day of the week. Is that right?
So here's the trade-off, right? So the more expensive the property, you're dealing with a more sophisticated seller, and
Sure.
there's also more people around the seller as well, where they may not need the speed and convenience the same way. Because normally, if they're in a property like that, they have other resources, right? So it's
Sure.
not that it can't be done. Like there are
Yeah.
certain situations, right? Inheritance, personal
Sure.
problem,
Right.
medical issues, elderly, right? Where it may be a fit. I found the sweet spot is kind of between 500,000 to a million. Those are the
Okay.
ones that you can really make the 100 plus bangers on, and
Wow. Yeah.
it's kind of the sweet spot between the sellers. And a lot of times they're in markets where that's like the normal price for things: California, Washington,
Yeah.
Georgia. So yeah, I always look to make at least 30,000 because it's a lot of work. You know what I mean? And it's the same amount of work to make 5,000 as it is to make 30. So you have to draw the line somewhere. I like
Right.
30 because if things go wrong, I can still land on 20. But if I'm trying to make 15 and I land on five, we all know like 5,000, it sounds like a lot, but after
No.
expenses
Yeah.
and everything like that is that,
Yeah.
it's you're breaking even basically.
Yeah. Yeah, that's unless you're living in your sister's basement. Five grand isn't nothing anymore. Yeah. So that that makes a lot of sense. But you kind of brought up a topic that I do want to get into right away, and that is, you said I mentioned $1.5 million property, and you mentioned the sophistication of the homeowner. I understand exactly what you're talking about, and because of my experiences with talking to those type of homeowners as well, they have a lot of money knowledge, and they understand creative financing, and they understand cash is king, and they they get making moves like that. So, but then you said the sweet spot 500 to 100,000. Tell me, why would those people say yes? I mean, what is really the hook for them? If that's is that maybe not even an
Sure.
appropriate way of saying it?
No, absolutely. Like, what's the driving force that would make someone want to agree to this? So
Sure.
this is the normal scenario. They have a life situation to some degree, and there's all sorts of life situations, right? Loss of job, foreclosure, divorce. They need to move quickly. There's something going on where getting the most amount of money for their house is not their top priority. Because if it were, they would hire a retail agent, they would fix it up, and they would go through that process. So these are people that are seeking out cash offers because these are people that are coming in through PPC websites. These are people that are talking to cold callers. These are people that have raised their hand that said, hey, look, I would like to hear a cash offer. I am considering selling. So by default, there's that base level of motivation. And basically what we need to do is we need to figure out what exactly their issues are and if we have the solution for it, if we can craft a perfect solution. So what they really look for is certainty, speed, and convenience. Like those are the three things, and they want a pleasant experience. Now, they don't say that, like, you know what I mean? And they probably don't consciously think that. But when you address those things throughout your sales process, that's what moves the needle. And the certainty is the biggest thing. The certainty and the confidence that you can get the job done and having the whole thing make sense, that's what gets them to jump on board. Because it's a different experience, right? When I say, hey, I'm going to buy your house, I'm going to pay cash, I'm going to close quick, there's not a lot of trust involved in that. But
Right.
when you let them know, hey, look, we've qualified this for our concierge service. We're going to be working with a third party buyer, but don't worry, we only select ones that we're certain we can get done. And we give that whole pitch of basically like, look, we are not the buyer, but we're the best people to find the buyer, and here's why. And then they agree to it. They're essentially jumping on board on our train. So that's why my sales process is very low friction, because you can't beat them up on price and then pivot to that. It doesn't work because they don't like you at the end. And you can still wholesale the house with them not liking you, but it's very hard to do a novation with them not being cooperative or them deciding that you're not a good person is kind of the kiss of death. So
Rich, what makes you so certain? I mean, what makes you so confident that you can translate that confidence to them, that you have the perfect end buyer, that you'll source that end buyer for the perfect one for them, like what you're describing. Where does that confidence come from?
absolutely. Well, it comes from a few things. One, I know I'm going to care about them more than anyone else they're talking to. I just know that because that's how I am. Like we just had a deal that is getting signed today for the final closing. We're making $600, and this is when we paid this lady's mortgage. It was like $5,000 we had to pay. Now, obviously, we didn't think we were going to make $600 when we started, but that's how it ended up. And she was making like $3,000, and I totally could have peeled her wig back for that $3,000. But in my mind, I'm like, whether I'm making 300 or $3,000, it's the same thing. And this lady, her house was about to be foreclosed on. Like she needs the $3,000 more than we do. And I just look
Yeah.
at it as like, look, if we screwed up and we didn't make any money on this, whether I make $3,000 or 300, it's not that big of a difference at the end. So one, I know I'm going to give them a great experience. I'm going to make a high and lofty promises, and I'm going to deliver on them. I'm going to do things small and large to help them. Two, I'm confident in my numbers. Okay, my method in finding my numbers is extremely reliable and extremely predictable, And there's many checks and balances that we have in our process where even if my numbers are off or there's some missing information that I didn't see, we're calling all sorts of realtors and we have all sorts of expert advice that helps us. So I know if they agree to my price, we are getting the deal done. So it's not that I can get the deal done no matter what. It's under the conditions that I lay out. If they agree to that, I am certain we will get that done. So, I just have a long sales background, and sales is really about uncovering people's fears and wants and needs and addressing them with solutions. And if I'm not confident in my process, there's no way they could ever be confident in me.
Yeah.
So,
I like that you're letting me ask you what I think maybe are questions that are hard. I mean, they're not hard for you, but I mean,
they're good questions.
These aren't softball questions. I mean, where you're just going over the basics ABCs here, but like for example, there's critics of the Novation strategy, Rich, and
impossible. Bring them out.
There's critics of everything. So just because there's critics of something doesn't mean that it's justified. That their criticism is justified. But the critics would argue that Novation agreements are in some cases unnecessary. They complicate a deal. They potentially create legal challenges. More in line, maybe even using powers of attorneys to take control of a property that might leave you liable to a lawsuit at a later time if somebody feels like they got hurt in the deal or they change their mind about how they feel about the deal later. I've heard all of these things, and I really, really, really want you to clear this up for me, man, because I know that can't all be what the critics say, because the critics lie a lot, and they only have partial information. They only give you partial information too, so I really want the whole story, Rich. Can you help me out, man?
No, that's good. That's a good thought-provoking question. I like that. So I would pose it like this, right? The same reason how people say wholesaling is unethical. Now, would I say most wholesalers are ethical? Honestly, I'm not sure. If we're going by like individuals, I would say a lot of them are not ethical and they're not competent. I would say there's a lot of newbies. Now, the people that do a lot of deals and have been in the game for a long time, I would say yes, most of them are ethical, because normally the unethical ones don't last very long. Nature has a way of wrecking them, right? Sure. And some bad things happen. They get sued, whatever. Like they just seem to fall on misfortune. Like the people that are just like predatory, lie, just put memorandums on every property and use that as like a strategy of like, let's see who's going to call me on this one. Ha, ha, ha. I just locked it up with a memo and I'm not going to do anything. So like with Novations, here's the main things that make things complicated. Doing a power of attorney. Okay. I don't do power of attorney. And I don't sign the buyer's offer on the seller's behalf. And there's a lot of people that do that. And I actually used to do that because they used to allow that. But then we started running into problems. So it's funny because I hear all these people like preaching these ways to do Novations. And I'm like, I've already done it that way. And I know like where it leads. If you do enough deals,
they're going to get spanked. Are they going to get spanked?
Absolutely. So if you're signing the buyer's offer for the seller, absolutely. There'll be a point where someone's going to look back on that and get angry, and especially if it's an older person, okay? And grandma unfortunately passes away and goes on to the next life, and they go back and look at that, and they're like, wait a minute, who's signing power of attorney, right? Or the lenders, too, do not like power of attorneys, especially when you have a financial interest in it. So the best practice to avoid that is you just have the seller sign the buyer's offer, and then people say, well, aren't they going to see how much the offer's for? Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. And that's why it's important that you have to be honest and transparent with them. And you need to push what the true benefit you are providing them. Okay. And there's many things that I have that like set up for this to prevent things from happening in the end. It all is interconnecting. And if you have a process that's the same every time, where I give the same disclosures every time, I give the same jokes every time, everything's the same. So by the time we get to the finish line, I already know they've gone over my whole trail and I've covered every single thing. And their expectations are just that's going to be a hands off white glove experience where we deliver the result on a silver platter. We negotiate our fee from the buyer. So whether we make $1 or we make $1 million on this deal, Mr. Seller, you're going to get every penny of $455,000.
Right.
That will not change.
Yeah.
And I never retrade. I do not negotiate with them unless we absolutely have to. And when I do that, I always give them the option. I say, hey, look, this is the reason why things are changing because of X, Y, and Z new information. Now, if you're not okay with that, you do not have to move forward with this. But this is the reality of the situation. This is the new problem. And in order for us to make this work, we would need to be at X amount. You know, if you're okay with that, great, we can sign this. If you want to just cancel the process, I understand. But I never just try to like renegotiate to try to make more money. Like I heard someone bragging or talking about a guru that was bragging that on 90% of their deals, they renegotiate. I'm like,
oh, wow.
What, like you really, and there's people bragging too. I put memos on every contract. I don't care. And they think that they're, I'm just like, yo, bless your heart. I hope everything works out. I can just sit back and let the universe deal with that. That's not even something I have to deal with because I just know how it goes. People like that never last. And it's just a bad way to do business. It's dishonest when you're going and giving them an offer and then retrading. Now, hey, I'll make as much money as I can, but I make it a fair fight, right? I get my discount up front and I negotiate with them up front. And then from that point on, they get the 5-star service. I do make sure that they are happy. Because, if they're not happy, they're going to be really unhappy when they see how much you're making. It is very important to set those expectations. But when people lie, that's when people get mad. People lie.
Yeah. I'm curious, and that's a great answer, by the way, Rich. Thank you. Have you had any experiences or legal or ethical let me preface this, okay? Because this isn't me really digging or anything. This I've been sued before myself. Okay, anybody that does anything in business that makes any money gets sued by somebody for something at some point, and I've found myself there a time or two, maybe. And I'm curious, you said that you do things a certain way, very specifically process the structured a certain way to lead to a destination that does not include legal or ethical hangups. Are those the result of you having had some legal hangups? I've had some legal hangups myself. I'm just curious.
So fortunately, as far as no, like with real estate, I've never had to go to court. I've never been sued. Like my thing is like if the seller wants to walk away from the deal, I'll do everything I can to keep them on board, just like communication wise. But if we reach a dead end and they're like, look, I'm out, whatever, like we're done, I just let them go and I move on. Because even if I'm in the right, the energy and the opportunity cost of going after them, I always blame myself. I say, look, if they don't want to do business with me, at some point, they didn't feel like I was bringing value to the transaction. And that's okay. There's plenty of fish in the sea. It is very rare that happens because I have a lot of stories I tell when I'm doing the paperwork, and I lock everything down very tightly from the very beginning, from that whole process where they don't squirm away, because I tell them when we're reading, like part of my closing process is reading the entire contract to them and summarizing it and giving third-party stories. And that's one of the things I talk about is if they, get another offer, if they want to leave the transaction, what the next steps are on that and what the consequences are, and let them know, hey, look, if we do move forward with this, once the train leaves the station, we're committed till we get to the destination. So like, I'm not going to quit on you. You're not going to quit on us. We're moving forward. We're putting time, energy, and money into this. We are committed. And I make that very firm. And I think people respect the honesty and the transparency because I think it's so rare. Like everybody else is just telling them, yeah, I'm going to close quick. I'm going to do it. And with Novations, you can also out the wholesalers. You can explain, hey, look, a real cash offer looks like this. Okay, 7 days, high EMD, no inspection period. A wholesale offer looks like this.
Right.
$100 EMD, 30-day inspection period.
Right.
And you can, and then even though my concierge service is essentially a wholesale on the MLS, they respect the fact that I'm telling them what I'm doing, and they're cool with it. And people think people will be mad if you're making money, but they're only mad if you're not bringing any value to the transaction.
Right.
That's the key, is figure out how to bring value. And value may be in the form of just certainty and peace of mind. Don't underestimate that. People pay for that, you know.
That's powerful. Yeah, absolutely. I've got questions that brings up too, but I think Wes here put it in the chat. And by the way, if you're listening out there, thank you. We've had quite a few people listening. We've got some competition on TV tonight that's pretty big, but we've got several people that have been checking in and out of the live stream here, and some of you want to put questions in the chat. Feel free to. We'll get to those. Okay. We'd love to have your questions about Novations for Rich here. I'm not going to keep him here all night long, but you know we can probably. I don't know. Would you take a few questions here, Rich?
Yeah, yeah,
cool
absolutely.
Okay, Wes has got one here. How do you explain the Novation to the agents that you work with, and also the title company or attorneys you work with? And I'm going to tag this on there too. Who's signing the lease? I mean, who's signing the listing agreement?
I signed the listing agreement. So I use an attorney in fact that's just an authorization to sign listing docs and addendums. So I sign on behalf of the seller with the agent. And he brought up a very crucial point of working with agents, because a lot of people teach this as flat.
Okay.
Go to flat fee broker, flat fee. Don't waste your money. Agents don't know what they're doing. Flat fee. I couldn't disagree more.
That seems risky. That seems risky. Like you're not going to get a buyer like you want, right?
For a retail property, it's a freaking nightmare. And the opportunity cost is disgusting. Like how much time it takes to do everything that's required for a properly priced property in the retail market, with normally the homeowner still living in there too, and you're dealing with retail agents. Like even if you are an agent yourself, it's not the best use of your time. Pay the 3%, because here's my process on how to find the agents and how to talk to them. And I teach all this in my course in my community, novationking.com. Check me out on Instagram at novationking. I post tons of content like this. But I'll give you guys just a run through. I'll give you some free game here. So what I do, once I get the property under contract, I talk to at least 5 agents that have sold recently in the immediate area. Okay, here's how I interview them. I call them, it's very cut and dry. Hey, how you doing? My name's Rich. Hey, I have a property that I'm looking to list and sell with an agent. It's actually right by the one you just sold on 123 Main Street. And I'm out of state. I'm in Arizona, and I don't have a good agent out there right now. I do quite a bit of deals, but I don't have anyone there. And I figured you'd be a logical person to call since you just sold there recently. What can you tell me about yourself and kind of your knowledge of the area that would help me better understand what it'd be like to work with you? I'll ask them some sort of complex, open-ended question to get them to start selling themselves to me. Okay, what you don't want to do, and what everybody else does, is they say, hey, do you work with investors? Hey, my name's Rich. I got a Novation deal, and this is what it's like. What do you think? And they're trying to find an agent that's willing to work with them, not me. I'm the goose that lays the golden egg, baby. I've got a lay down deal for the agent. Okay, my stuff's priced to sell. I'm not like Bob and Mary down the way. I want my stuff to move. Like I want an offer in 2 weeks.
Wow. Okay.
So speed is huge on this. That's how, like, you do not want these sitting. If they're sitting past 30 days, that means you can't close on your 60-day timeline if someone's paying with a loan, because that's a 30-day process right there if everything goes right. So I'm always trying to get an offer quick. So I get them to sell themselves to me. Okay. I'll ask follow-up questions, and I'm getting all this extremely valuable data about that market, about all the nuances of the property they just sold. And I'm doing this with 5 different people. So my knowledge is the collective knowledge of what 5 people that recently sold the properties in that area think is the most important thing to tell me to convince me to work with them. So like I'm automatically getting like the cream of the information to rise to the top. And I'll pick the best agent that I talk to, and I always get them, I'll ask them, hey, look, Mr. Agent, in your professional opinion, one thing that's important to me is I would like to know, since we are moving on a quick timeline, where do you think the property would need to be priced in order to get an offer in less than 30 days? That you would be confident we could get an offer in less than 30 days.
Wow. Yeah.
Realistic, I want to know what you think the real number is, right?
Yeah.
And then that's a test too, because I'll see how long it takes them to get back to me. Will they send me a CMA same day, next day? Also, do they pick up their phone when I call? That's a big one. You'd be surprised how many agents don't pick up their phone, they
Right.
don't text you back, and they don't call you back until days later. And they call me back, I'm like, hey, thanks. I've already interviewed 6 agents and I hired the best one. I do appreciate you calling me back though. Like, whatever, right?
Yeah.
But yeah. So you get all that information from them. And when they ask, like, hey, how long have you owned the property? Are you Mary Smith? Well, Mr. Agent, here's the situation, okay? The seller is going through a bit of a personal situation right now. I can't really get into the details out of confidence, but basically they're not in the position where they want to be interviewing agents and be along for the ride on the whole selling process. They're focused on other things right now. I have an attorney, in fact, that's the authorization to sign listing docs. The seller is going to be signing the buyer's offer, and they're going to be collecting the money. Okay, I'm just going to be the point person throughout this process, and I'll be the decision maker on who we end up working with. If there's any repairs or money that needs to be spent, I'm going to be the go-to person. I'm going to be communicating with the sellers, but I promise them I'll be their point of contact so they don't have to deal with multiple people. So yeah, if we're working together, Mr. Agent, I'm not emotionally involved in this property. I'm a professional. I do lots of deals. That's why they ended up selecting me. And you and I will be working together directly. And hey, if this deal goes well, I also have a large network of people just like me. I run a community of investors, and we're always looking for great agents to work with. We can have plenty of deals that we do in the future. And that's not like to gas them up. That's the truth. Like, there's agents that I work with where we've literally changed their business, where like we've got one guy in Georgia where he is nonstop. Like, he's got 6 deals from one guy, 8 deals from another. It's like all Rainmaker Novation people is like his whole business now. Yeah, but he's really that good though too. Like, he deserves it. You know what I mean? Like, he's really that good where he goes above and beyond for stuff. And that's why people keep working with him. But yeah, the agent, if you get good at picking the best agent and you get good at communicating your value and your expectations, and they rise and they perform at their highest level, it will make your business so much more scalable. I work 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. I don't do weekends. I don't do nights except for stuff like this, special occasions. And the reason I can do that is because I have really good agents running all my dispositions. If I was doing it myself, my phone would be ringing right now for a showing tomorrow. Right. And I've got 20 deals going at any given time, right? So you can imagine, even with an in-house staff, I'm not going to be able to get 20 people that are going to be better than 20 local agents that have just recently sold in that market. Even if I had a killer salesperson, like, you're much better off getting a local agent. So yeah, the agents are big. And then for title companies, this is also a big sticky point, because without a title company that understands this, you will lose your deal, and it can happen at the last minute. So me personally, I've had national title companies I've worked with. I found a lot of the national title companies, they're really good for a while, but their basic service and communication a lot of times is lacking. Like the big national ones, I won't say any names or anything, but sometimes things get delayed. There's no communication, whatever. Now I just
now you got me thinking, like, is it American Title? Who is it? No, I'm just
no. I mean, it's titleclearing.net is who I used to use. I won't use them anymore. A couple decent ones. Clothesline Settlements is pretty good. Hudson Title, Blueprint Title. I use Easy REI Closings. There's a link in my bio, and literally I just submit the deals in their portal. They have all the Novation title companies, and they do all my paperwork. And Like I try to spend, since I only work Monday through Friday, I try to spend all my time on the phone closing deals because that's what I'm really good at. Not title work. I suck at that. I can get
Wow.
it done if I have to, but I'd rather just pay someone to do it because I'll make way more money closing deals. So
That was worth the price of admission right there, bro. Man, that was good. It's really good. Hey, there's another so building your power team or whatever, like that's important. And
oh yeah.
how long would it take me to do that if I were to start today? Let's say, for example, as a new person.
So if you're already marketing,
Yeah.
you don't really need a power team, especially in the beginning, right? Because the agent you're going to find by calling all the agents that have sold around the area, right? The sellers, you already have seller leads coming in if you're actively wholesaling. You
Mhm.
just have to be able to recognize these opportunities and know this new model for what we're looking for price wise. Instead of thinking back from ARV
Okay.
minus repairs minus this and that, look at as is retail
Hmm.
minus 10% minus 30 grand. That's your max allowable. And however much below that you can get, that's just extra margin for you. So if you recognize the opportunity, I would recommend for most people, uh, honestly, probably for pretty much everybody, partnering with someone that is experienced is going to be your best bet on your first deal or two
Sure.
because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of more variables in this. And
Sure.
one misstep in this can be very costly. Like if there's certain things that
Right.
you don't say or you do say, it can potentially cost the deal. But at
Yeah.
novationjv.com is where they can partner with me and my team, if
Okay.
they have an opportunity that looks right.
Novationjv.com, everybody. And then also, if you're not following Rich on Instagram, you're missing out. I'm sure he's on other social media platforms like Facebook. He is, and probably some others as well. But in the bio, if you go click his bio, there's some important links there too. Like he was sharing with us where you can find all the title companies around the country that are Novation friendly. And I'm assuming if they're Novation friendly, they're probably assignment friendly. They're probably double close friendly. They're probably on and on friendly.
Yep. Yeah, if they're
So
down with novations, they're normally down with everything. Maybe not
yeah,
all of them creative finance because that's a little bit more complicated, but yeah.
sure.
And the TC I use, they do every type of transaction. We've got a creative deal going with them now, novations, the whole nine.
That's great. So that's worth the price of admission right there, everybody. And I'm curious. I want to get to Lee's. I've got his question here on the screen. He's got a follow up question too, and he's wanting to know about the attorney in fact versus a novation. And do you use both, one or the other? Do you prefer? Why do you prefer one over the other? So I want you to talk about that. But I also really want to know. I I use several strategies in my creative real estate wholesaling business, and so I have some setup questions. And these questions are questions that I ask the homeowner to determine whether or not this strategy may fit or not. Like, for example, this sounds complicated, but everybody does it. Like, for example, if I'm wanting to know if a low cash offer would fit for this ugly house property owner, I'm going to say something like, "Hey, if I were to close quick and pay all cash, and there were no realtor commissions, what's the lowest amount you would accept if you didn't have to do any repairs?" Okay, see, this is a setup question. So what would be the setup question for a homeowner, or is there a setup question for a homeowner to discover, oh, this is, the numbers look like they could be a novation deal, but how do I know if the homeowner's even going to entertain the idea?
So one important thing to find out is their timeline. Okay, and in my process, that's one of the first questions I ask is what their ideal timeline would be. I've got a more roundabout way of asking it that's kind of stretched out, but I want to find that out because if they need to sell in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, novation's not going to be a fit. Okay,
Okay.
it's going to eliminate that because normally those deals can't happen that quickly if we're dealing with a retail buyer. We need 60 days normally. Uh, so that'll be one thing, but really the key to my sales process too is the whole process is a cash offer process until the very end. They don't hear about novation until I've taken them all through the cash offer process because you can negotiate much more from a
Hmm.
much more strong position when you're negotiating from a cash offer position.
And they need to get that out of their system, don't they?
They
Like
do.
because they're thinking about that real hard, and then you got to be like, hey, let's get that cleared out of your mind, and what about this idea? This one might be better. Is that
Exactly.
kind of how it goes?
We use the cash offer for the low anchor where it's like, hey, look, if you want to close in 2 weeks and walk
Okay.
away, leave everything behind, we can make that happen. But it looks like cash investors are going to be somewhere between this number and this number, and they're way up here. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So
Yeah.
it's way below their expectations. And
Right.
then they're hearing that from all the other wholesalers. In my Novation offer, I can come up from that low anchor. So that's what makes it effective is they
Wow.
want their cake and eat it, and they
Wow.
want to eat it too. But
Yeah.
once they realize for that convenience, they're getting paid 50 cents on the dollar. They're
Yeah.
more open to other more options where they can
Yeah.
make considerably more.
Great. It's dynamite, man. That's dynamite. So tell us about this attorney in fact stuff and
Okay.
Novations, because I don't even know what does an attorney in fact mean, because I'm not an attorney. I only play one on TV, and so what is an attorney in fact?
So
Because
the
I'm an attorney
in
in
fact
fiction.
is what we use to hire the agent. That's the best way I can explain it. Because to be honest, I'm nothing near an attorney either. Like basically, it's an authorization to sign listing docs and addendums. So that's a one pager. It can be docu-signed. It's not a power of attorney. It doesn't need to be notarized.
So this lets you do the listing agreement?
Correct.
Wow. Okay. Now this is starting to click together like a puzzle for me. Good.
Yep. So that's the only thing we use the attorney in fact for. Some people try to use it to sign the buyer's offer. It's a bad idea. It'll get you in trouble. It's much better to just have the seller sign the buyer's offer, and now you have an A to C contract, because it makes it look like you're a scammer too if you're signing for them and you're trying to hide what's going on. It doesn't work. It's bad optically, and it's
That feels
bad
weird.
practically too, because the lender's going to get mad. The lender's not going to like it. And we've had it where they refused to close the deal, and we had to get the buyer to get a whole new lender, like last minute. So that's the attorney in fact, though. It's just for hiring the realtor. The novation agreement, that just outlines the process to the title company and also to the seller on basically the seller's net amount is X. These are the things that we're promising to pay, which is essentially everything besides prorated taxes, liens, and mortgages, all closing costs we pay, any repairs we pay, any realtor commissions, fees, anything like that. So the novation agreement, I want to say it's like a 2-pager. It might be a 2.5-pager, but that's just basically what we give the title company that allows us to replace our original AB contracts that we signed with the seller, the purchase agreement.
Which is a purchase and sale agreement.
Correct. So it's
So we have 3 docs right now. We've got a purchase and sale agreement. We have a novation agreement, which is kind of like an addendum to the purchase and sale, sort of.
You could think of it that way.
Okay.
It's technically not an addendum. It stands alone on its own.
Okay.
But
Okay.
functionally, it's very similar.
Okay. And then you've got the attorney in fact, which is kind of a permission slip of sorts.
Exactly.
Okay.
To list the property.
Yeah. What else am I missing? Anything?
So on the front end with the seller, that's the only docs that you need. Now on the back end, once we've sold it to the buyer, some title companies do require you to file a notice of interest with the county recorder. Now, that's getting less and less pervasive. Like I've seen it much less. Most title companies will let you just submit an invoice now, because filing the notice of interest and doing the release is not only a pain for us, it's a pain for the title company. And it's not necessary. They used to do that to justify our fee to the lender, where they could say it's a lien release, but normally it's not necessary. We can just submit the invoice and it's fine. So you do need to submit like an invoice. I just use the invoice from my course, which is basically like a generic invoice from Pages that's been like slightly modified for what we do. And it basically has the A to C price minus the A to B price minus all the closing costs and fees that we agreed to pay. And then it shows our net amount. And then I also write up a seller net sheet to make sure that the seller is getting everything that they're promised, which is basically their A to B price minus any taxes, liens, or mortgages that they may owe. So they know exactly how much they're getting, because otherwise, if you don't do that, this is what can happen. They get the the settlement statement at closing. They're seeing all these numbers on there, and they're like, "Well, what the heck? I thought you guys were paying for everything." It's like, well, yeah, we are paying for all that, except for the taxes, this, and this that we already spoke about. And then at that point, they're already confused. Is better. This is what I found out. Everything you can overcome before it becomes a problem, you can defuse. But once it's already a problem, there's some level of damage that's been done to your relationship or your rapport or whatever you want to call it. Even if it's a problem and then you perfectly solve it, it's much better if you can overcome it ahead of
Right.
time. So
Wow.
basically, every little problem I've ever had, if it's a reoccurring one, especially, I just build a process around it where I say, hey, look, what steps can we take several steps in
Yeah.
front of this to prevent it from ever getting to this?
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
so yeah,
And that's what makes you great at this, man. If I can, just throw that out there. That from my analysis of just discussing this with you, that's what makes you great at this. Is that it's kind of like I heard a musician say one time that wrote songs. Songs aren't written. Great songs aren't written. They're rewritten and rewritten and rewritten. And you've done that. You've rewritten this process over and over and over and over and fine tuned it every time and then perfected the hook and perfected the process so that it doesn't create disagreements and it doesn't create disputes and things involving hurt feelings and misappropriated expectations that now are failed, and now you're, like you said, the relationship is damaged. And these are all things that your wisdom in experience really is valuable, man. And I'm really honored that you've come here tonight to share some of this with us. And
oh man,
so,
I appreciate it. You're gonna get me
yeah,
misty over here, brother. That's
dude,
a great
eh,
that's a great compliment. Keep going.
yeah,
No, I'm just kidding.
hey, that's all right, man.
Thank
Looking,
you, bro.
yeah, you deserve it, man. If anybody's out there with a live chat question, let's throw it in there now. We're going to try to wrap up here by the top of the hour. So looking ahead, Rich, in as far as the real estate landscape goes with creative real estate and real estate investing and wholesaling and all of that, where do you see novation agreements evolving in the real estate and investment landscape? Because novations is not a brand new concept, but yet it is kind of a new thing in a lot of people's paradigm. So where do you see it going? Is it becoming more popular, or is it going to just stay kind of a niche thing, or where are you taking? Where's the Novation King taking novations? Are you taking it to the? Is it going to be the premier strategy that everybody gets into, or is it just going to? What is it going to do, man?
So here's one reason why I really want to put out my way of thinking, kind of my philosophy behind it. Because my biggest fear is people are going to use, because novations are a powerful tool, extremely powerful. But like any powerful tool, it can be used for good or for bad. And my thing is, I want to preach the gospel of teaching people how to do it ethically so we can continue doing these deals for a long time. Now, I think it can really fork off two different ways because it's getting more and more traction. Like my course is growing, JV deals are growing. I have more and more people
Yeah.
asking me questions about it. Like people are finding out like there's a massive opportunity here that has been largely overlooked. But
Yeah.
if people take this tool and lie to people, mismanage
Right.
their expectations, and people are starting to leave these deals angry, that's what's going to cause new laws and regulations to come into play to protect people from unethical people that aren't acting in their that aren't doing what they say, and
Mhm.
they're not having a legitimate business where it's an even exchange. There's trickery involved. There's you know dishonesty involved. So I really want to be the loud voice on this because I want to teach people like, hey, look, you can do this in an ethical way where your seller leaves happy. You provided true value to the transaction, both to the seller, the buyer gets a house to live in, the real estate agent gets to
Mhm.
make money, the title company gets to make money. Like when we talk about making money, this is how people feed their families. And like for a lot of wholesalers, there's been a rough patch in this last year where things went from the party was on to the party stopped. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And even in Novations, there's a few months where we felt a big hit too. You know, our deals were falling out. You know, we were going through it for a little bit too, like everybody else. But
Sure.
like I just want to make sure that, you know, the people that do it are doing it ethically,
Yeah.
where everyone's coming out ahead, where we can ride this train and have this become like a mainstream thing where people understand, look, you have to do it. You have a moral obligation to these people and an ethical obligation. So make sure, yes, you can make a lot of money, but understand you're dealing with someone's life. This is not just a voice on the end of the phone that you can make money off of. This is a real human being. This is someone's mom. This is someone's dad, grandpa, kid. You want to make sure you're treating them well. It's okay if you make money as long as they understand that you're making money and as long as you're delivering on the promises that you make them. So,
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I like you, dude. You know, I know we don't really know each other that well. We just met recently, and I want to say shout out to Bob Vieira. You guys know Bob, Bobby V. Yo, hey, Bobby V. You know, he doesn't probably like that, but I don't know Bob. I don't know Bob enough to do that well enough to do that to him either. But I love Bob. I've known him for several years. He made a connection here with me and Rich, and so I want Rich actually to feel comfortable enough to come back, even as often as he wants to, and just hang out with me, and we'll talk novations. And so, give us some advice here though, because I'd like to learn and grow a little more myself. And then I know there's some people out there who really want to do novations too, like maybe exclusively as a strategy for a while. They want to just really soak into that, and that's a great idea because it really does. For what I've learned tonight is that it really does hit a niche of homeowner that your low ball cash offer can't reach. And so this it's a tool in your tool bag that just really helps you monetize more transactions. If you've already got the leads, you might as well make money from them. And so, um, how do I? What's my next step as a new person? What advice do you have for me to if because I'm an aspiring real estate investor? I want to incorporate novation agreements into my strategies that I'm doing. So, what's a specific learning resource or mentorship opportunity that I can get involved in here, man?
So people can get a lot of free value just from following my Instagram. Like there's full calls on there. I've got a ton of videos on there where I go into detail and explain like
You
why
do
I'm
live
doing what
calls
I'm
on there and
doing.
everything, right, dude?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I go live almost every
Yeah.
day. I'll go
It's
live
top
on a
tier.
couple calls.
It
So
is. Everybody, it's top tier content on Instagram. He is not kidding. Okay. Like it is the real deal. You'll see him sitting in his office doing novations and stuff. Okay. So I'm sorry, man, but I just really wanted to pump that. If you're not going over to Instagram right now, you're already missing the boat, everybody.
I appreciate that, man. But like, I would start there, right? Because that'll give you just before you spend any money, go and poke around there and see what it is you're getting into, right? Because all the people that are successful in my training program, they're pitching this very similar to me. And like my closers that I work with that help me with the JV deals, like we're very very similar. We're like McDonald's, like you know what you're gonna get when you show up there, right? Where it's very consistent with everything. So I would go through that. I mean, really, to join the coursing community is going to be your best move because there's over 300 of the top wholesalers across the country in
Okay.
there. We're all go givers. We all have an abundant mentality, right? Where
Hmm.
we just give away all our secrets because we don't care. We know there's enough deals for all of us.
Sure.
You know, we're
Yeah.
all making great money. We're not tripping on it.
Yeah.
And the new people too end up coming to us for JV deals too if they need help. Most of
Yeah.
the course members are working with other course members in some capacity. You know what I mean? And we do live trainings in there, normally 4 times a month. But novationking.com is where you can find out more about that. I'll give you a coupon code too that you can drop in here when you're done, Justin. That will give your people a
Okay.
like a
Yeah.
discount on it and everything like that.
Appreciate
But
that.
yeah, I would go there and then I would just start looking for the opportunities. And then when you've identified some, you know, go to novationjv.com or reach out, you know, to someone, myself or one of my
Yeah.
teammates, and just give us the details and we can tell you oh, yes, this looks like a great opportunity, or no, because of X, Y, and Z. And you can refine it and just start looking for them. But you don't have to get it under contract to work with us. Like if you just have a hot lead that's motivated and you've done the price negotiation up as far as you can do and it's within kind of range or close to it, we'll take it over and we lock it up. We'll show you the whole back end process and we split the deal 40-60, where we get 60%, you get 40%, but we do the majority of the heavy lifting. So
Right. It's still a great deal, a great learning experience. Everybody's trying to figure out what's it cost to get the course in a community. The course in the community, what's the cost?
It's like 1/15 of our average deal size. So it's super cheap, super affordable. You can our average deal size is 30 grand. So it's $2,000 right now to get in the course. And there's payment plans available too, where you can go on a firm. And I think you can pay as little as like $100 a month. So you can really just pay it off out of your first deal. But if you're brand new and you're not even marketing, honestly, I wouldn't recommend buying the course. Like this is for people that already have leads coming in. If you're brand new, you're better off focusing your energy on just like getting the leads in and teaming up with someone to get your feet wet. But if you are actively wholesaling, you have leads coming in and you just want to implement this strategy, that's going to be the way to go.
I can do this virtually. I don't have to do it in my home market.
Oh, dude. Yeah, I do it all over the country. Like I barely leave my pad. Yeah. Yeah,
and
I got deals in all sorts of states.
Okay, great. So if I'm if I'm doing something already, guys, what he's saying is if you're out there doing something, this is a great way to scale a little, right? By adding additional strategy. The course of community comes with, I know the community, it must be dynamic. It comes with the support and all of the things that I need as a human, but also you're going to provide with the course the actual novation agreement that you're using and the actual attorney in fact agreement you're using, the actual purchase and sale agreement. You're going to teach people how to actually fill all that out, and the words that I shouldn't say as well as the words I should say, and I can kind of get excited about this and not be too scared, huh?
It's comprehensive, and it truly is step-by-step instructions along with all my scripts. You'll hear, like, if you follow me on IG, you're gonna be like, the script. I've heard you say that a million times. I'm like, yeah, like I use my own script. Like, if I found a better way, I would put it in the script. You know what I mean? I'm a firm believer of eating your own cooking. You know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah, everything's in there, and then also kind of the cool thing, right? Because this is what I want to do. I wanted the core course to not be too long and too complicated. I wanted it to be actionable, where you don't feel like you're taking a college course on Novations and you just leave more confused than when you came in. Because there are other courses out there, and I've had people that have given me that feedback about them. And like I want it to be actionable. But the cool thing is once you get down the concept of everything and you learn the scripts and you're doing that, we have all these trainings that we have from live with course members from previous trainings. Like I did an 8-week or a 4-week boot camp where it was 8 different 2-hour sessions where we went into more detail and nuance of each part of the course, where you can really get a deeper understanding of everything, but you don't have to learn all that in the beginning. You know what I mean? But it's like, once you consume that, you get the basic part down, there's different levels where you can keep digging deeper. And it really is like a master class, because we do role play sessions. We have live call reviews. Like they really get the experience of like essentially working with me one-on-one for several months, but it's through video. So sorry, I know we're running out of time. I'm getting all hyped talking about Novations here.
Dude, I'm not trying to cut you off. Not trying to cut you off. Keep going, man. I mean, that's exciting. I love the whole package. It sounds like it's a comprehensive deal where I don't need to know anything before I get involved, and you will take me from the preschool all the way through graduation, and and that's good, man. That's what I'm looking for. I don't want to reinvent the wheel, especially when it comes to Novation. I want to do it the right way. Like you said, it's important to do it the right way. It's important to have a spirit of excellence about you too. And I find that that's really what I'm picking up off of you tonight, man, is you've really got a spirit of excellence about you that I really didn't know I was gonna be this. I'm just like, wow, I like this guy. This guy.
My guy. Well, dude, we met through Bobby V, so I knew you were
Yeah,
cool because Bob's the man. That's the short sale king right there. He wouldn't
that
talk
is
to
a
us.
short silky.
Yeah, he's a stud. I love Bob.
So real quick, man, are you cross pollinating here at all and doing any of the like shorts? I mean, like foreclosures. You're stopping foreclosures, delaying foreclosures to get a novation done, and things like this. Are you making some master moves like this?
So one of my closers, Chris, he has a short sale going now. I'll be honest, I don't really understand short sales. I have a basic grasp of it, but obviously not like Bobby. Like he knows all the intimate details, kind of the way I know novations. That's kind of his thing. Um, I'll play with foreclosures and short sales if I need to, but I'm kind of somewhat a hammer looking for nails. Like I do some creative finance
Okay.
if that's the only situation that'll fit, right? Creative
Yeah.
finance is either going to be no equity, low equity, or they're greedy and they don't need all the money up front, but they just want a higher price overall. So normally it'll only fit in that box, but Novation, it seems to be the biggest box out of the motivated sellers because most people's
Wow.
houses are somewhere in between completely crappy and brand new fixed, where only really the really crappy ones are the ones that kind of fit in the wholesale box. So most people find that this ends up becoming their biggest revenue stream. So if they're doing 2 or 3
Wow.
wholesale deals a month,
Right.
they might end up doing 5 or 6 novations along with the 2 to 3 wholesales off the same marketing. So
I mean, what makes it so tasty looking is that MLS stuff, man. You know, right? Uh,
I
have you
mean,
heard
retail
anybody say that
buyers,
before?
I mean, they don't have to make money. They got loans. They plan on being there for a long time, and they pay retail. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
beautiful. Like I wish I would have learned about it sooner, honestly.
Wow, dude. When did you learn about it?
It's coming up on about 3 years right now.
Wow. See,
Yeah.
that's when I first started hearing about it too, and then I was like, man, I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm a late converter, dude. Totally a late converter.
Yeah. Well, you hear these new things, and you're like, man, is this guy going to go to jail in the next couple months? Maybe I'll like
Yeah.
sit this out to see if this is
Right.
legit.
Right.
But people try to reinvent old things and bring it to light. So I get it too, and especially if you're killing it in wholesaling, which 3 years ago was a lot easier to do. It's like, well, to take the time and energy to learn this new thing that I don't fully understand. A lot of wholesalers are like, look, I'm just a hammer looking for nails.
Yeah.
I don't mess with all that other stuff. I'm just looking for what I know, which is cool. I was like that too, but you live and you
Wow.
learn, and you find out there are some things that if you can add it, it could be a complete game changer. But I was working for someone that learned about it at a mastermind. I worked for Corey Geary, and that's how I heard about Novations. So it just fell into my lap, and I was like, "What? You guys can list these on the market, and you don't have to buy it? And what?" He's like, "Yeah, yeah." I'm like, "Are you sure this is legal? This?" I was always taught
Yeah.
you couldn't do this. He's like, "Dude, we're doing them." I was like, all right, well, it's
he's
your
like,
name on the contract. If
he's
this
like, we're
goes
doing it,
south, I'm
man.
just an employee, so we'll see how it works. And then we just started nailing them, and that's how I developed the pitch. So,
We're going
yeah,
streaking
it's an
through the
awesome
quad.
opportunity, though. I would suggest anyone that's actively wholesaling, you owe it yourself to really look into it because it's
Oh
legit.
yeah.
It's completely changed my life. Like, we've made millions off these deals. So,
Wow. Do you, here's another question, man, and then I'm going to let you go because I know I've kept you way long here. Do you place any special remarks in on the listing?
no, nothing to tip them off that we are in the picture in any way because it's completely irrelevant. Now, some things that may be more likely to be on a novation listing than on a typical listing is a lot of these are owner occupied. So normally there are specific days and time windows available for the showings. So we do try to minimize the pain and discomfort for the sellers by limiting to it to certain days and certain times that they've already agreed to. So it's just not like at the drop of a
Got it.
hat, someone's
Yeah.
always coming over and maybe they're
Got it.
serious, maybe they're curious. We pre-vet them beforehand too. And we explain to the agent kind of our mission and what our goals are. And one of them being to give the seller the most pleasant experience without hindering the speed of the sale and how we can kind of optimize that. So we'll push the showings to Saturdays and things like that. But no, like the buyer and the lender, they never know that there's an investor involved unless they see it on the final settlement statement. So we never explain ourselves to them. We used to, but we realized keep everything on a need to know basis. Real estate's complicated enough. Don't complicate it more by telling someone something that has nothing to do with what they're doing. Like any agreement we have with the seller is irrelevant to the lender. You know what I mean? And it's irrelevant to the buyer. They're paying a certain price for the house. Keep things simple. Don't overcomplicate by trying to get everybody to understand everything. Let everyone just kind of stay in your own lane. But yeah, they have no idea that we exist like the whole time.
That's cool. So, real quick before we close out, why not include novation language in the purchase and sale agreement versus having two separate docs? Is there a difference, or I mean, is it because the novation agreement is mainly for the title company people, you said, or it doesn't matter to have that language in the purchase and sale agreement?
So the purchase and sale agreement does have some language in there. There is a paragraph in there that says we have the right to assign or novate the agreement to a third-party purchaser. Either such case, seller agrees to like replace the original agreement with a replacement agreement with said third-party purchaser. So they get that, but some people too, they try to put the attorney in fact and the purchase agreement, all this stuff on like one paper. I don't recommend that. I like keeping things compartmentalized because then boom, we've got the purchase and sale agreement, one doc. We got the novation agreement, separate doc, because then too, if we get a cash buyer, we don't even need the novation agreement. We just go out the purchase and sale. And then the AIF, the attorney in fact I have, is a third doc because I don't want to give the realtor my AIF and then they see my whole purchase contract and now it's opening up all these questions that have nothing to do with them selling my house fast.
I agree.
So I don't overcomplicate things by making everyone understand how smart we are and how cool we are by like doing this type of structure and all that, which is a temptation, right? For a wholesaler's like, well, let me tell you what we're doing. We're doing this, this, and this. It's like, no, man, keep them on their mission. Everybody's got a role to play, and the realtor's role is to sell the house quickly. How we're making money is irrelevant. You know, they're not telling us about what they're doing. You know what I mean? Like they're
right.
Result. So I personally like having them all three separate, but I send them on one DocuSign. So there's lots of ways to do it. Honestly, the paperwork I have now is essentially the same paperwork that I got from Corey like 3 years ago. And we made a deal that I get to use his paperwork. He gets to keep my calls and his mastermind that he had going at the time. He's in cryptocurrency now. He's not doing real estate. But
what? Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Corey, he moved to Puerto Rico with his family, and he's real big into crypto now, and he like teaches it and everything like that. So we wish him the best, everything like that. You know, definitely no hard feelings, but we had a good season together, and I'm definitely grateful for working with him and learning this opportunity because this opportunity is completely transformed.
Yeah. Wow, dude, that's wild. I didn't know that. Huh. That's cool. Yeah. So you are the Novation King, man.
The self-proclaimed, man. So y'all can take it for what it is, but Instagram says I'm the Novation King, so I'll take it. You know what I mean?
Hey, that's cool, dude. I like it, man. Hey, let me ask you this question though: Is your name really Rich Wonders?
Yeah, that's my government name, Rich Greg Wonders II.
No kidding. I was like, this dude has got an alias. It is a cool ass nickname.
It just worked out that way. Yeah.
Yeah. That's great, brother.
Yep.
Man, I like you a bunch. Will you come back and visit with me sometime? I mean,
that.
You don't have to do it every week, but
again soon, on or off camera. We definitely got to connect. But I love your energy too. I think we definitely can get some good synergy going on some level.
Yeah.
Some deals together. So I'm all for it, brother.
Me too, dude. Thanks for being here tonight and sharing so openly and freely. I know it really, you openly and freely shared with us tonight. And I'm very grateful for that. And so I'm really want you to come back as often as you want to, man, because you're my kind of people, dude. You know, I mean, I really like you. You're like we could sit around and just chat about real estate, and then we could probably talk about other stuff, and just hang out for a little while, and just and I would be like, man, I had a good time, and I can't say that about everybody, Rich.
I love it. That's a high compliment. I feel the same way. Yeah, you're a cool dude, definitely. So I
Thanks.
love it. Whenever you meet someone where your energy and your paths have an alignment to it, you get that genuine connection. That's what I live for. And most of my friends are in real estate, right? Because my life is so surrounded by real estate. It's like, hey, if I'm gonna have friends, I may as well have friends that are doing what I'm doing. We all can learn from each other and help each other, and you know what I mean. Those are the best type of friends to have. Is ones you can connect with, they understand you, you can make money together too. So,
Well, tell us one more time how people can find you again. Instagram at Novation King, but also there was another website or two there you mentioned. Everybody go check out Rich. Oh, everybody go check out Rich Wonders, and follow, subscribe, like, share. Start taking a part of the free stuff, because like that's really, if you want to get started, he said just start with some of the free content. It's coming to you every single day. It is real actionable content. Where can we find it again, Rich?
Instagram at Novation King. You can find the Rainmaker course and community at novationking.com. Lots of success stories in there too. You want to look through, or it doesn't just work for me, it works for the students. And then to JV with me is novationjv.com. So those are my three big ones. You can check me out on YouTube. There's more interviews and stuff like that on there. But Instagram or novationking.com or one of those websites could be your best bet.
All right. And you heard Novation JV. That answers a question for a lot of you out there, because I know you guys are like bloodhounds. You're out there seeking them out. You're looking for the deals, and you're going to bring them home to Papa, and he's going to help you put them together.
We're going to go to the promised land together, baby. We're going to get your first Novation under your belt. It's going to be easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Bring them my way. Bring them in. Send them in the leads. Flood us. So only leads that you talk to the people, though, right? Go through your process with them, and if it seems like it may be a fit, submit it, and we'll go from there. So definitely appreciate you, Justin. You're the man, dude. You're a cool dude.
Appreciate you too, Rich. You have a great night, man. We'll talk to you again soon. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll see you again next time.